Oh my gosh, okay, I hope my phone stays. I think it will. Okay, all right. Hi guys, good to see you again. I'm super excited to be here, and I'm super excited to share with you what the Lord has been doing in my life. And this video is specifically for girls, so if you're not a girl, sorry guys, you gotta get out of here. I hope that you can take this video as us like sitting down and having a cup of coffee and or tea, whatever your preference is, or just sitting down and talking, like just regular girls dates, So grab a seat, grab your popcorn and your whatever food you want to eat, and let's talk. So recently I have gotten into a relationship, and we're 5 months almost in, and this is my first Christian devoted relationship where both of us are seeking God and pursuing God as much as we can for the Lord to bring us together to become one in marriage. And for many years I prayed for this. For many years I sought this, and I seeked this, and so now the Lord, in the most unexpected timing, gave this to me, and I'm so thankful and I'm so grateful. But here's the thing: I realized that I am not a perfect girl, and I'm not a perfect Christian, and I grew up in this purity culture where I had read books on courtship and not kissing until you're married, and not holding hands until you're married, and not hugging until this, and literally just taking the intimate part out of a relationship. And I believed in that for a good three years. The more and more that I've grown to love this person because of who Christ has created him to be, the more and more harder it gets to like reserve myself and not give myself to this person. I'm just gonna be real and like super upfront with you guys. Like, it is so hard, and I'm not gonna say that I have been perfect, because I've fallen, and I think that within this Christian purity culture, within these girls coming on YouTube and encouraging women to stay pure and to seek God and to give your temptation over to God and to really just almost become like this super empowered woman that is gonna like be able to say no to temptation if you follow these rules to a T. And I love their hearts behind it. I love the hearts behind the no kissing. I believe in that, and I'm going to continue to do that. That's a conviction in my heart. When I first got into my relationship, we didn't hold hands and we didn't hug for, I think, until we officially became boyfriend and girlfriend. But when we were dating, we didn't. I first got into this relationship, and I wanted to follow all of this stuff to a T. I wanted him to be the spiritual leader but I not only wanted him to be a spiritual leader, but I also wanted him to be like this super like perfect man spiritually that was like gonna know how to meet my needs, know how to meet my emotions, know how to fix what was going wrong with me. And really, really got lost in like really who and what I believe, and I really started to follow these quote-unquote rules and like quote-unquote laws that I felt were putting on me. And the more and more that I was like, well, why can't I do this? Well, why can't I do that? And blah, blah, blah. And I started to feel really, really burdensome by that. And I really started to kind of be upset with God, be like, God, why did you give me these sexual desires if I can't express them? Why can't I do this? Why can't I hug? Why can't I be intimate? Why this? Why this? And I started to ask these questions, and I started to feel almost guilty for asking them. But it was like, well, what do you mean? Like, why would you give them to me if I can't like have them, And so it wasn't until a couple days ago the Lord gave me this revelation. But it was through this YouTube video that I stumbled across. And the title of the video was, "I'm sorry for all the purity culture talks." And basically this girl went through, like, guys, like, ministered to my heart in ways that I can't even, like, comprehend or understand, because I really believe it was the Lord who, like, spoke to me. But she was talking about how when Christ died on the cross, he gave us the free will to choose him or to not choose him. And within choosing his way, we will be blessed by what we choose. And by not choosing his way, we will suffer the consequences. And growing up, I always heard, don't do this until you're married. Don't do that. Don't. And I think when you hear don't so much, your human nature's like, ooh, I got to. Like, we see it in the Bible. Like, Eve was like, ooh, God, you told me don't eat the fruit. Well, it looks desirable and it looks pleasing, so I'm going to do it. And she ate the fruit because she said, no, don't do it. And so I think it's just the human nature in us to want to do something that someone else is telling us not to do. And growing up as a Christian, I always heard, don't do this and don't do that. And I always wondered, why? Like, why not? Why can't I do it? And my parents did an excellent job of explaining the reasons to me and really showing me the behind the scenes, but I didn't want to just know it from my parents' perspective, because they're your parents. Like, what do they know? I'm just kidding, I'm not a little bit. but you understand what I'm saying, girls. Like, you want to know, like, you're not following your parents' guidelines for life. Like, you're following the Lord's. And so I wanted to know. And so in this video, this girl was basically saying how she was so sorry that purity culture has been failing women to become the super empowered women that if they follow these rules to a T, that their relationship is going to be perfect and it's going to be like the super powered godly couple relationship. And girls, that's just not the case. It's not so much about following these rules to a T of being like, don't kiss until you're married, don't hold hands, don't do that. It's more of, where's your heart in that? And I think I kind of lost that idea. And so I really started to just sit and like cry and just be like, God, like, oh my goodness, I've been so lost in like wanting to follow this to a T and wanting to do it the right way and following the 1, 2, 3 and expecting the 5, 6, 7, 8 out of it. And Lord, it's not happening and I'm failing and just being so frustrated. And in that moment, like, God gave me this revelation, and it was, Linnea, like, I died on the cross to set you free, and no one is making you choose to abide in this but you. And if you're not choosing it, then of course you're going to feel this pressure and you're going to feel this weight lifting you down like these bricks. But if you're choosing to do it and you're choosing my way and my will because it's your heart and you have the free will because I gave it to you, then in your that burden will not become a burden anymore, but I will trade it for love. And I will trade it for understanding, and my Holy Spirit's your helper and will help you. And he revealed this revelation to me through this verse. And I had always heard this verse, and I was just like, I don't get it. I really don't understand this verse. Like, why would God's laws become burdensome? Like, duh. Like, don't you love God? Like, don't you want to obey his law? Like, come on, people. But when I finally came down to me wanting to understand and me asking that question, the Lord spoke to me so vividly. And he spoke to me through 1 John 5:3. And it says, "For this is the love of God, that we keep his commandments, and his commandments are not burdensome." And so I have this on a paper, so I'm just reading it. But this was like more of the revelation, and I wrote it on a piece of paper. But it says, "The love of God will be bestowed upon us when we choose out of our own free will to obey his word and honor his commandments. It's our choice to choose. In doing so, the Lord removes that burden, that heaviness, that anxiety, that pressure, that depression of not doing what you're not supposed to do, and he trades it for his love, for his surpassing understanding, and the peace that surpasses all understanding. Then he pours out his love on us and blesses us for choosing his way and his will. Choosing his will and way doesn't mean things will get easier. And I wish, girls, oh my goodness, I wish that as I was studying these purity culture books and these courting books and this courtship and like Kiss Dating Goodbye and all the rest of these books, that someone would have told me, when you're in love with someone who's a Christian, it's gonna get harder. I wish someone would have told me that. But it was never told to me. It was more told to me, do this, do that, and temptation won't happen to you. And it's like, no. Like, there's so much temptation. In fact, I think coming from a worldly relationship to a Christian relationship, it is 10 times harder. But in choosing choosing his will and way doesn't mean it gets easier. It gets harder. And but God promises that by choosing Jesus, he promises to give us his Holy Spirit, and who will become our helper, and he is the promised one whom we hold in our heart. And he's the one that will give us the strength to say no to temptation, to deny temptation. And I think before the Lord revealed this to me, I had just said, how come? How come? How come? Why can't I have 5 million Oreos, Mom? Why can't I stick my finger in the light socket? And there's a reason. And when we choose God's way and God's will, the Lord unveils the mask that we're wearing, and he starts to bestow his love upon us. And I just love that the verse says, for this is the love of God. And what is the love of God? It is pure, it is peace, it is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, selflessness, long suffering. It is all of those stuff. And so when we choose God's will and God's way, his permissive way for us, he starts to bestow upon us the fruit of the Spirit, and he starts to set us free. And just during this revelation, just the song of who the Son sets free, oh, is free indeed. I'm a child of God. Yes, I am. Just kept repeating and repeating in my head of, wow, God, the enemy wanted me to think that you made me do this, but Lord, you loved me so much that you allowed me to choose to do this. In allowing me to choose to do this, you honor it and you bless it. And not only that, but your Holy Spirit is the promiser. He's my helper, and he's going to help me say no to temptation. And so no way in form am I adopting purity culture. I think it's amazing that these women are encouraging younger girls to really strive to seek God and really be pure. We see it so much throughout the Bible, and I am striving to do that in my relationship. And girls, it is hard, okay? It is hard. It is not easy, but I know the Lord is faithful, and he's righteous, and he's good. And so I think if there's one thing that I could explain to you and express to you is, when you're in a Christian relationship and your love is growing for this person, it does not get easier. It gets 10 times harder, and the temptation becomes 1,000, 1,000,000 times more tempting. But I think we have to understand, and we have to come to realize that God's commandments and the law that he set in place, and I don't even like to call them rules, the guidelines, the love letter that he has written to us, which is the Bible. Like, he set it in place because he loves us, because he knows if this thing happens before, there's going to be a consequence, and he doesn't want us to suffer that consequence. So he warns us, right? And so that was just the revelation that God gave me, that when I offer myself up to him, and when I really started to ask why, he removed that burden and started to show me that I have the free will to choose to say yes to him or say no to him. And in that choosing, he will reward me and bestow upon his love for me. And in choosing him, God shows us his love, which is insane. It's a crazy, crazy, crazy thought to think of. Yeah, that's it. That's all I have for you. But I love you guys. I really hope that this ministered to you. Sorry if it was kind of like all over the place, but I really wanted to get the point across to you. Like, do not follow purity culture to a T, and do not follow what people tell you to a T for the outcome of the relationship that you want to have because you see in other people, I would say really, really study the word and take in what people are saying, but also evaluate your heart, and don't just follow a rule book because someone said, but really sit down and pray and ask God, okay, God, what are my convictions? What are the convictions that you're bestowing upon my heart? And Lord, whatever the enemy is putting on me as a burden, Lord, I pray you remove it and that you take it off, because your law and your commandments are not burdensome, because who the Son sets free is free indeed. A to the men, to the men, to the amen. I love you guys, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.